Welcome to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I'm Morgan, and I'm thrilled to be your host and wellness coach as we navigate the path to a healthier, more confident you. As the owner of Get Fit With Me, I bring years of experience in personal training, nutrition, and coaching to each episode. Join me as we explore practical tips and strategies for fitness, nutrition, mindset, and more, all tailored for busy women just like you. Let's empower your wellness journey and achieve lasting transformation together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Morgan Ekovich. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think resonates with so many of us. It's the new year. You are all about finding a better you, creating a better self. And one of the things that I hear so many women talk about is one of their goals is to lose weight or to drop a pant size, any of those things that are number related. And it's really hard sometimes to find motivation when that scale is not moving. So, we're going to talk about some different ways that you can stay motivated, recognize that you are continuing to make progress without that scale actually moving. Because in reality, those scales move after a lot of other things happen. As we get started here, I want to remind you that now that we are in 2025, we are moving to a weekly podcast. So every Thursday, you can expect a new episode here on the Empower Her Wellness podcast. And we've got awesome guests lined up for this year. I cannot wait to have you guys come and listen to them. And you're going to start to see a little bit difference between me at this studio and me at the other studio because we're going to be producing more. With that, let's start talking about New Year, Better You. You've created these goals, and whether your goal is to lose weight or not, a lot of us take measurements or we step on the scale or we base the way we feel in our success based on a pant size, that scale, some measurements, because that is the way that we've kind of been trained to see success in the past. I get it. I also like to track success based on a number because it's very black and white. Did I hit that number? Did I not hit that number? The problem with that is there are so many factors that come into play with when we only track the number. So today we're going to talk about a few different ways that happens. So one of the first things you need to do, and it's something I do with all of my clients, is we do a pre-intake form. And on this form, and you can do this directly for yourself, I'm going to give you the questions. You can write these questions down and ask yourself this. I do ask for weight and I do ask for measurements, but I put them as optional. My clients do not have to track those. I do not need a starting weight. I do not need starting measurements. I do not need starting pant size. That is totally up to you. What I do need though, is I ask the question of how are you feeling physically right now? How does your body feel physically? And I want you to write it down. The more sentences you write out, the better. I feel achy, my joints hurt, it's hard to get up and down off the ground. My cardio is, I'm winded after 5 minutes. Any of those physical feelings. After you write a sentence or two, I want you to move on to how do you feel mentally right now? Do you feel clear and energized, or do you feel like, oh, completely cloudy? You don't feel right. I can't keep things straight. I'm forgetting everything. I've got too many decisions going on. I'm irritable. All of those things. How are you mentally feeling? How are you feeling emotionally? Do you feel happy? Or do you feel a little sad, angry, depressed? There's no right or wrong answers to these. So we have physical, mental, emotional. The other question I ask is, it's a little bit unconventional, but how do you feel nutritionally? Do you feel like your nutrition is on the right track? Do you feel like you're way off? Or do you feel kind of in the middle? I have you kind of write a sentence or two about how your nutrition looks. Partly because when we start working together and when people want to start making long-term change, our nutrition plays a part in that. And we're not always honest with ourselves on what that looks like or how that looks. So that's what we're going to do is I want you to journal, write down what some of that looks like. How does that feel? Does your current nutrition make you feel good? No. And then in that other notes is where I always have people note, and it's also good for you to note yourself of, do I have any injuries? When was that last injury? I have this weird tweak in that shoulder. Okay. I don't know if that's actually an injury. Any of those weird things that happen or that are happening, note them because what you are going to notice is things are going to change. before that scale does, before those measurements, before that pant size drops. The last little area, and you can also put it in that other section, is how is your sleep and stress? Write about it. I sleep terrible. I get 5 hours of sleep. I'm up every 2 hours. Why is that? Are you a new mom? Is that just your sleep routine? How's your stress? I'm stressed. I'm overworked. Life is crazy. I can't manage anything. Or is it the opposite? Do you get great sleep? Are you managing your stress well? These are all things that you need to know. These are the things that are going to change when you start showing up consistently for yourself. So as we go into the new year and we have such a focus on that number, we need to first take pre-data. We need to create that baseline. And yes, take that weight on that scale. Take those measurements. Write down that pant size if that is something you want to track. You do not have to. I would much rather have you create a baseline for physical, emotional, mental, sleep, stress, and other in nutrition category, because you're going to see changes there. Here's the next thing. You've created your baseline. Now that you've created your baseline, the next thing that you want to do is decide what are your actions that you're going to start doing? What are you going to consistently show up and do? What is your intention every day? And if you did any goal setting, did you break that big goal down? Did you create that vision of your life? And did you break that down enough so you actually have a daily tangible task that you can start working on? If you did not, you need to create a more tangible task. Something easy you can do is you can jump into our free 21-day Control Your Day challenge. I'll drop the link in the show notes. We have 7 actions. They're all things that are going to make us better. You can go check that out. If you want some guidance, we can talk and I can help you create a plan. Or maybe you're like, no, Morgan, I've had this plan. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to strength train 3 days a week. These are the days. I've added it to my calendar. I'm going to drink X amount of water. I'm going to make sure that I'm eating 1 vegetable per day because I notice that's something I'm not doing. Awesome. How are you tracking that now? Because it's all about that consistency factor. So how are we tracking? Are you using an app like Habit Share? When we work together, we use an app called My Coach. Are you doing the pen and paper method? Do you have a calendar and you're just putting it down the days that it actually happens? Doesn't matter as long as it's being tracked and you can clearly see the days that it happened and that it didn't happen. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get to the end of January, or you're going to get 2 weeks into January, and you're going to be feeling high as a kite. You're going to be like, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm doing all the things I've committed to. And you're going to step on that scale, and that scale will not have moved. If anything, it might have gone up a little bit because our body has fluctuations. I've got a 5-pound fluctuation up and down. I know that about myself. Everybody's a little different. Sometimes it's a 2, 3, usually it's a 2 to 5 fluctuation. But you're going to get on that scale and you're going to feel discouraged and you're going to feel terrible. Like, what is all this work I've been doing? I want to remind you, it's only been 2 weeks or it's only been 4 weeks. It takes a long time. I then want you to pull yourself back because it's something we always forget to do. So I want you to put a sticky note where that scale is. And I want you to say, the scale does not define my worth. And before I step on the scale, I feel blank. And if you say good, you can step on that scale. And remember, that feeling of good is what matters. It's not that number on that scale. If you say, I feel bloated, I feel sluggish, I don't feel my best, do not even step on that scale because you're setting yourself up for failure right away. Because we already know how that scale impacts our mindset, that if we already don't feel good about ourselves, like when I say I don't feel good and then I step on that scale and it also doesn't reflect what I'm wanting it to, all it's going to do is push us down even further. Let's build ourselves up. Remind yourself the scale does not define your worth and say, today I feel blank. And if you feel good or you feel great or you feel phenomenal, step on that scale if you'd like to, but still remember that first sentence. So it's been 2 weeks. It's been 4 weeks. Let's say it's been 6 months. Let's say you have successfully stuck to your routine for 6 months and you step on that scale or you put on those pants and nothing has also changed. And now you're frustrated. Let's even say, let's dial it back even a little more. Let's go a month and a half. A month and a half, 2 months. You step on that scale, let's say that scale has not changed. But if I ask you those questions again of how are you sleeping? How's your stress? How's your eating? How's your mindset? How's your body physically feeling? You will 100% see differences in those areas. And if you don't, you are not doing the thing consistently. Simple. Simple as that. If you are doing the thing consistently and that scale is not moving, remind yourself and go back at where you started. You may notice, wow, yeah, that scale hasn't gone down, but I did notice that pair of jeans that I was wearing, they don't hurt to button anymore. I can turn my standing jeans into sitting jeans now. Look at that. Or maybe it's, I can actually sleep throughout the night unless I wake up to pee because I just drank water too close to bedtime. Maybe you're able to fall asleep faster and you're not tossing and turning for hours. Things like that matter. And when we focus on our nutrition, we focus on our exercise, we focus on hydration, we focus on ourselves, those areas change. And in reality, those areas are the one that matter. Yes, weight long term, if you're somebody who is carrying that extra weight, it's not great for our body, but that will come. And if we stop stressing about our weight and our measurement in the scale, we create less stress. Our body is less stressed. So we tend to lose that weight. As we kind of think through some of this stuff, what have you done in the past? Have you actually looked at and tracked how you feel in these areas, or have you only based your life on what the scale says? I know basing ourselves on numbers, something I've done for a really long time. And now, if I do, it is required that I base how I feel on other things that are non-numbered as well. So now, here's the other thing you have to remember is we take a baseline. The point of the baseline is for any time we feel unmotivated to go back and look. Where do we come from? How do we used to feel? The other thing to remember is to start making note of the wins in your life. For instance, you can do this on a daily basis. You can do this on a weekly basis. I recommend anything at least a week or more frequently. Partly because it's just kind of getting in the habit and the routine of doing this. It can either be wins or gratefulness. I like wins to start. You can always do something you're grateful for if you're struggling to find a win. A win could be as small as, I bought a new water bottle to make me drink water today. To, I hit my water goal. To, I did not fall into the all or nothing mindset. I couldn't get an hour workout in, but I did 30 minutes. To, I ate a vegetable. It is so crazy that if we start to note those wins, whether it's in the notes section on your phone, just writing them down in order. So day one, you have your wins, and just like as the list goes down, you add more. You are going to start to see the things that you used to acknowledge as wins are things that you're just doing as second nature. Like it feels so good to start noticing those things. But because it doesn't reflect on the scale, we don't see it as progress. We don't see it as us doing things consistently. It doesn't show as we are doing the right things that our body likes, but it does. So we have to remember to look back at the other things that are non-number specific and remind yourself that the scale does not mean anything. You are worth more than that number on the scale. You are worth more than that pant size. Nobody's going to remember how much you weigh. No one's going to remember your pant size. No one's going to remember that crap. I promise you. Like the only person that may remember is if they're buying something for you so that they can actually make sure like they're getting the right size. But the normal person or the people you talk to, they're not going to remember that. It doesn't matter. It's something we internalize. So this year, I want you, whether you have a weight loss goal or not, I want you to answer the questions of how are you feeling physically, emotionally, mentally, nutritionally, sleep and stress, and then kind of just other things you want to know. I want you to pull open a note on your phone, or I want you to pull open a sheet of paper, and I want you to answer those questions. Give yourself a baseline for 2025. And then I want you to start collecting wins. Decide if it's going to be daily or weekly. If it's weekly, decide what day it's going to happen. Give yourself a little reminder. Maybe it's Monday mornings. You put a little sticky note on your laptop and you do your 3 wins from the past week. Start noting these wins, collecting them. Then the final piece of this is reflection. At the end of each month, or every 6 weeks, come up with a deadline that makes the most sense for you. Or a timeline, I should say, not a deadline. A timeline for you that makes the most sense. And decide, what has been working these last 6 weeks? What has been working? What hasn't been working? What have I started to notice as a change? What still haven't I noticed has started to change? Reflection is the last thing that we always forget to do. Is we create these goals, we create these intentions, we create our baselines, we create our actions, and then we just move through life doing them. Never actually reflecting on if it works. And there is that fine line you've heard me say in other episodes of you can't just try it for 2 weeks and expect it to work. You've got to put in the time, you've got to put in the energy, you've got to put in the consistency. If you're not sure what that looks like based on your goal, reach out to me. I'm happy to help create a timeline for you. I like a 6-week. I think that's a good kind of cycle to go through. Months for some people is very clean and concise. Totally up to you. I like 6 weeks. I just kind of look back of what was working this past 6 weeks. Okay. What should I change? What wasn't working? Really trying to do strength training workouts out in the garage. That was just terrible. I need to switch my routine because it's so cold. Like, switch it up. It's okay. It's okay to pivot and move after you've given yourself some time to try it out. Same thing goes with our eating. I ate really healthy for a week. Great. Can we do it more often? Can we eat 80-20 for 6 weeks? How does that make us feel? What worked? Oh, I really still struggled with meal planning. Okay, for this next 6 weeks, let's focus on planning 1 meal of our day. We're going to get breakfast planned out. So breakfast, we don't even have to think about it. Giving yourself little reminders every day with those wins or every week with those wins is going to remind you that you are doing something good for your body and that you are making progress. I promise you are making progress. As we kind of wrap up here, I want to remind you, go back to those questions, write them down, put them on a spot you're not going to lose them because you do want to make sure you go back and find them. Same with those wins. Decide, I don't care where you do it, but decide where you're going to collect those wins and keep them in the same spot so that you can always go back to and add to them. I don't want 14 different areas of wins and how you feel. No, keep it all very concise. Get a folder, get a binder, get a notebook, open up the notes section, label it what it is, make it crystal clear so you can find it every time. It is really, really, really easy to be unmotivated. It's really easy to stop doing the thing when we don't see the results that we're anticipating. Reaching your goal and seeing the results you want, if you think it takes a month, times it by 3. If you think it takes a year, times it by 3. Give yourself more time to reach that goal than less. It's going to reduce that stress. It's going to make it more fun. It's going to allow you to breathe and enjoy the process rather than just getting through it. Because remember, your health has no end goal. You have goals along the way, but your health has no finish line. I also want to remind you that if you listened to this episode and you thought, oh my, I know Caitlin really needs to hear this, or so-and-so really needs to hear this episode. I feel like we're always talking about this, or I'm always sharing this with her. Send this episode, open up your phone right now, click the little share button, send her a text message and say, I really think you should listen to this episode. I would love to hear where you're starting out. I want to share mine. Create an accountability partner out of this. Like I said, if you want just some really quick guidance, you can either reach out to me and we can create a plan, or you can check the show notes for our free 21-day Control Your Day challenge, which is a great opportunity to kind of test out a bunch of different areas in very small micro habits. With that, I hope you have a phenomenal Thursday. And remember, we're on for weekly podcasts from here on out. So I will see you all back here next Thursday. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I hope you feel more empowered and ready to tackle your wellness goals. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to send me a message. Make sure to subscribe and leave a review to help us reach more women just like you. Until next time, take control of your wellness and keep empowering yourself every day.